Just Mercy is a novel based on a true story of a man named Brian Stevenson and his work through becoming a legal advocate. Um, he basically does work for people that he does it free of charge, so people that can't afford it, they don't have to get just a bad public defender that don't really care about them. And he's most known for his work with people on death row and taking on death row cases, people that are either falsely accused or are harshly punished, like people that basically don't belong on death row in his eyes. And he does win quite a few trials and gets a lot of overturned rulings. And but the most notable one is about Walter McMillian, which is what the plot follows, and it's about him. It's about Stevenson and McMillian's growing relationship throughout the book. Because at the beginning you can see how they didn't really see eye to eye, and McMillian thought he was just another public defender coming, to waste his time. But he turns out to be like one of his greatest friends in the end of the book, and that's all for our book.
And for Jordan, for yours, what's the plot of overall plot of yours?
The overall plot of mine's, the All American Boys novel is pretty much based on a police brutality instance where two classmates, so one classmate got brutally beaten by a cop, and he was African American, and the other classmate saw it, and it's pretty much based on the two incidents, what they went through, and really the struggles of a black young man in this modern day.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel you on them because even today's going to today's life,
So
it's just like the same.
Yours is like really related to current events,
Right.
Because ours was taken in like the 1980s,
Yeah.
and back when Jim Crow was around and all that.
It was a little bit more cruel.
Right. Yours is like more current events with the police and all this happening, like with what's his name?
Rodney King.
No,
Rodney King back in the day.
recent. What's his name?
George Floyd.
George Floyd.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. I knew it was George something.
George Floyd.
But yeah, George Floyd. Okay.
Yeah, George Floyd.
What can y'all base y'all's book like off of, like into a real life instance, like real life situation?
Real life, really, it would just be like the mistreatment of black people in general, really.
Yeah.
Because I don't know any like specifics, but like this was all like Just Mercy, like I said, was based on a true story. So all that in the book actually happened. Like obviously not all of it, but like the trials and like the people were real. Like Walter McMillian is a real man, and he was actually sentenced to death in Alabama for committing the murder of a white woman that he never even heard of. And that's why I said you can just really relate it to the mistreatment of and the racial injustice of black people in general, because that has everything to do with racial injustice. When you get a black man that's is accused of murdering a white woman, especially back in the 80s.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
So
or
like,
just even when you talk about white women or anything of that sort,
that's what I'm
talk
saying.
about like Emmett Till. Like all he did was supposed to whistle
at
at
a girl.
You know what I mean?
And he got murdered.
The
Murdered. Like it was bad.
The kid in my book, Rashad, all he was trying to do was buy some chips, and then he got wrongfully accused of shoplifting, and he got beat. But that really happens every day. Like that's in the book.
Honestly, going to it relates a lot to the critical race theory, because I was doing a lot of research on that, and basically, it's like to where the transferring of power in race the transferring of power, race, and law, it's possible and it's happening, like in that white supremacy is real and it exists, and like it happens every day basically. Right. And that's a perfect point of him. Like you get a black kid, baggy clothes in the store, and like he drops some chips in front of a white police officer. The worst is assumed.
What's that kid's name that he was walking like on the sidewalk, and then he had his hood?
Trayvon Martin.
It's
just like that. Trayvon Martin.
He's walking home.
All right, so just going to the next topic, Mike, how was your feelings towards the novel, and like how did it affect you?
I mean, it's like, oh, okay, there we go. It's like, I thoroughly enjoyed the book, and like the overall story, the way that he developed his plot, and like, the way that, what am I trying to say? The way he expressed his own personal thoughts through reading it, You know what I mean? And like his personal experiences, what he thought
Facts.
per each situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. I know that was really, really big for me. And it just put in a perspective that like, I mean, well, a lot of different things put in perspective, but it was also put in perspective that like that was real life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that,
Yeah.
like
So,
I just
Oh,
read that, and that's
actually
actually
happened.
happened.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Actually,
yeah.
that's
like
crazy.
that stuff that like our great aunts and uncles really went through.
right.
You feel me? Like grandparents like really went through. You know what I'm saying? They watched. Like they best friends
Bruh.
go to jail, get put on life sentence, death
Right.
sentences for nothing.
For nothing,
You know what I
basically.
mean? So it's like, and for him to be black as well, it also gives you a sense of empowerment.
Right.
You know what I mean? To show you that it can be done.
The fact that Brian Stevenson was black in Alabama in the
Yes.
late 80s and he took on
And still did all
Right.
that.
Yeah, you know what I'm
He took
saying?
on
You know what I'm saying?
death row cases.
So, you know, like, it was bad. So, like, you know, the 60s and 70s was probably the worst for Atlanta.
right.
I mean, not for Alabama,
Alabama.
like the South. I said Atlanta. But, like, you know, 80s and 90s is still bad. I mean, you go down there today,
Yeah,
we
man,
are still
right.
not welcome. You know what I mean? And
The
some of
courage that
Alabama,
he
like,
had,
you,
for real,
they, like, you go anywhere down there, you are still not welcome. You feel me?
Right.
But, like, for him to have that much of an impact,
It's crazy.
and everything he's done, because like people look at it all, because I think he's only saved like, I think it's about 40, and then people are like, oh, that's not that many people. Nah, but as you said in the book, you know, the amount of people that he was able to save, you know, from the death penalty, and I think doing some research prior to reading the book, I think it was somewhere around 135.
Over 100 people. That's crazy.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, that EJI was able to save and stuff like that. So it's like,
But just imagine like how many deaths you had to witness though, like just failing.
yeah,
bro.
so that's another thing, you know,
how much money they had to have to do all that for free.
Man.
That is a lot. That cost a lot of money, bro.
Right,
To do all that total free of service. Yeah.
I wouldn't. If I was like, I wouldn't. I was just thinking about like, I wouldn't be able to do that. Just watching, I can have that many successes, but just
How many
knowing
losses
how
you
many
gotta
losses
count for
that
the
that's just been
losses?
in
You know what I'm
between
saying?
that.
Yeah, and I don't think
That would
they,
mess with me.
I don't think they personally watch executions, but
He has.
he has.
Yeah.
I don't know the dude's name. I was gonna say it, but I don't know.
He
his name.
has.
Uh,
It was like it was
It
more
was
so like in the beginning of the
it was
book.
the guy that had people.
Oh
that
yes,
PTSD.
he is. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I forgot.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I did.
What's
He
his
did
name?
watch that one, didn't he?
What's his name? It was when he had put that bomb on the porch.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I remember.
PTSD.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the crazy guy. No, I remember. I
your
totally
question,
forgot that.
I got a question on for real, Mike.
Yeah.
So y'all talking about like how all this bad stuff happened. How did back in the day racism differ from modern day racism?
That's what his name was. It was Herbert Richardson. My bad.
Herbert.
Herbert.
Yeah. It was.
That's a very crazy
That has
name.
nothing to do with the book.
All right. What's up?
Ask again.
What'd you say?
I said, how does back in the day racism differ from like modern day racism? Because my book is more, like I said, more of a modern day.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like,
It was more.
I
It
don't know.
was,
I mean, we can all answer this, but it's like,
I say like it was more for like from back then in our book. It was more out there. It was more bright. Like they could come out they can come out the car with their guns already in their hands, pointed at you,
Okay, I was about to
and
say.
saying like threatful.
It was
things.
way more upfront.
Yeah.
Way more upfront. Nowadays in races, I mean, some people will be blunt about it, but most will be like conspicuous. Like they'll say certain things like they won't come right up to your face just, you know, threatening you with your life. Most will call you as the N-word really nowadays, or call you a porch monkey or something crazy. But like back then, they actually used to put hands on the people. Like they would actually like hurt them, not just like.
relentlessly.
That's what I'm saying. Like
And with no hesitation.
none.
You know what I mean?
For instance, like whenever he was parked outside of his apartment complex when he was living in Atlanta. Yeah,
Yeah,
Atlanta.
and the police.
When they was just going through his files, just
Yes,
taking
yeah.
stuff apart. Whenever that was 100%
Yeah,
illegal,
just getting
but
in
they
there,
still
for
did it.
sure,
They didn't
getting
care.
into it.
They didn't hesitate to
No
do it. They didn't
hesitation
care.
at
They
all.
Bro,
didn't
they
care who
like-
was watching when everybody
Yeah,
was watching.
especially that was another thing. Especially too, you talking about police So it's like authoritative white figures
Yeah.
as well. It's probably been the biggest shift.
Yeah,
You feel me? Like there
for
were
real.
citizens back then
But now
that
it's-
beat on folk, and like even then it was severe. Like it was. I don't want to say it was common because it wasn't common,
Well, you
but
gotta-
it wasn't uncommon.
Yeah,
you
gotta
feel
think,
me?
We got way more freedom now.
Right.
Back then, they didn't.
That's
have
why.
no
That's
type
why
of
I
freedom.
feel. That's what I. Well, that's why I
I
feel
wouldn't
like
classify it as freedom though. It's just more of a
we weren't.
we've
We was
integrated.
looked. Yeah, we was looked way more down upon back then. Into, like,
Then it is
besides
now. Like it's
right?
been so like racism still is
Very
very,
alive.
very alive and it still thrives. But it's been a a monumental societal shift from when it was then to like
That's why. That's
What it
why
is
I
now.
think the shift has happened to the more authoritative figures.
Yeah.
That's why you see more of the police having the beatings because, what are you gonna tell the police? Basically, I think is what's happening really
Yeah.
because, like, when you see if a white person attacks a black man nowadays, something's gonna happen. Either
Right.
he'll end up going to jail, maybe, possibly, but like if the police does it, it's like then it's like okay, now what? Because like he is the law basically.
Yeah,
Like,
fact,
looking
fact.
at it.
And that's what the whole that's really what shakes back into the whole civil rights and then Black Lives Matter movement into like what it is today.
Yeah.
This can pitch on for everybody. It's just pitch on as everybody just ends and other stuff. But what is this specific message in the novel that stood out to you?
Oh,
I
Yeah,
know
why?
mine. Mine would definitely
I'll
have to
type it
be
up.
like something that stuck out to me was when he first visited that man. His first visit with his it wasn't even his first client. He was just letting the man know that he wasn't going to be executed. I think it was like in the next couple of days or next week or so.
And it just brings
I think it was.
Yeah,
I know it was the
joy.
next year.
Yeah, it's
I think he had like a year
he had
left.
a whole
He had
year
a whole
left
year,
because and they was gonna find they was gonna be working on his case.
Yeah.
And the fact that like how happy he got, it just shows like how real life it actually is to them. Like and they know that like in less than a week they're gonna be put to death. Like and they can't do anything about it. They just have to sit there and accept it. And like when he had Brian come in and tell him that he wouldn't be executed, you could see the joyfulness in his like not even you could just like hear how it's described in the book. Like he started singing on his way back to the cell. When do you see that in the jail? When do you see that when it's visitation with a lawyer, someone so happy they singing back to their jail cell? Like, bro, it's real life and it just showed actually how happy and like grateful he was for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely one that stuck out to me because it was just like really crazy to me.
What about you, Mike?
Probably the biggest thing for like the book itself is a real slow book. You feel me? It's like it's a very what's the word? It's a progressive type of book.
Yeah,
It's what people
for sure.
what people call a progressive book. It's real slow, and then like as you get to the ending, it starts getting like
juicy,
thicker and thicker and
juicy.
thicker. You feel me? It makes you want to keep reading. Like he does a great job of like tying that in and stuff. But one of the big quotes I typed it out right here that stood out to me was that it says we are all implicated when we allow each other to be mistreated. An absence of compassion can corrupt the decency of a community, a state, and a nation. Fear and anger can make us vindictive and abusive, unjust and unfair until we all suffer from the absence of mercy and we condemn ourselves as much as we victimize others. That was, like when I read that, that was like, you could sit back and you'd be like, dang. You know what I'm saying? So like, like this is the type of stuff that was thought upon and truly realized then.
Way
Was it the
back
80s?
when.
Like 80s, that's, like, it's 2020.
It's
that was 40
2020,
years
bro.
ago. You
That's
feel me?
so crazy.
And it still applies today. The same thought concept and the same way of thinking,
Right.
the same knowledge, it still applies today. Not only does it apply, it's current.
Right.
Like you can take real life examples from right now and apply that statement to that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like even as much as we've changed, ain't nothing really changed.
That is facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Really
Even from
facts.
generation to generation, like, man,
It might have slowed down.
Everything. I feel like everything just repeats itself.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. I mean,
Repeats
they say
itself.
that
Yeah, you
Bible
might
and
gotta
things like
look.
that. What goes around comes around, but it's like when you sit down and you truly think about it, you're able to see that for yourself. You feel me? And it's like you said, it's not as broad as it was. It's
Right.
not as upfront. It's not as blunt as it was then, but yet it still occurs. And not only that, we allow it to occur.
Right, that's the
You feel me?
That's the biggest thing is allowing it to still happen.
You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, it gets to a point as what can you do though? Like, what can you really
That's
do?
what I was saying. Like
feel me?
whenever you get to the police, it's like, okay,
Man,
like,
you
like
know what I'm
back,
saying?
like
Yeah.
back then, like okay, if someone were, let's say a white man was to kill your wife, the husband could go off and just, you know, he could try to, you know, kill the white
Oh,
man.
they was taking L's back then too.
Right, but it wouldn't have happened obviously. But now it's really like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
this
You killed your
this
wife.
police just beat my wife, my black wife to death. What am I supposed to do? Because he has a
Right.
gun, a taser, and a baton, and I have my fist.
Right.
You know, it's
You
like
feel me?
I think that's why it's really happening because they.
Speaking on that, I'm about to answer your question. What stood out to me the most, I'm about to come back to that. So what stood out to me the most was when the Rashad, he was in the store and he was buying some chips, of course, and then the police came over and he started beating him. And then after he beat him, and he was in a hospital. His parents came to see him and stuff like that. He got charges on his record. Mind you, he's still in high school. I think he was a junior in high school or something like that. He's still in high school, and that just shows to prove like how much power authorities have
Facts.
to like rule your life. Back to what you were saying, like how like power can rule your life. Like it's crazy. Like
I see what you're saying because it relates straight. Like, bro, all of this really goes straight back to the critical race theory. Like. When you got white people in high places and powerful places, what they say goes basically. They pull all the strings and like just like in his book, you know, the kid wasn't even shoplifting. He got beat damn near to death,
right.
and he's getting charged. You know, that just shows like that's the white authoritative figure right there.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's critical race too. I don't wanna limit it to just white folk. It is white folk.
oh yeah,
I don't want to say,
But
but you
for
know,
this
that,
instance,
yeah.
okay.
In this instance,
In
I
this
don't want to sit here and be like, oh, white folk is the problem.
right.
Okay, they already know
that.
in my
But
book-
like, you know what I'm saying?
But
Yeah.
In my book, you had black police officers still acting up. Like you know how
It's the same way, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah,
it goes both ways. But like, but also shake back when you talking about that. Don't let no black police officer put their hand on a white person.
right.
Now, black folk, authority figures, black people, like officers and stuff like that, they put their hands on other black folk to save their butt.
Mhm.
You feel me?
Because they know
Especially
they have
you
to.
Shake it to the west side. How many black on black crimes did you see back then?
What?
You feel me? In the police force and stuff like that. Like, oh man, like, you know, you being an op, you got this, like, come on, like,
They
you know,
used
you
to
want to
diss
bust.
on them, right.
But they had, like, okay, so when you get to, they
to.
had to.
Because
You
now
know what I'm saying?
they
And
you're
folks
not
weren't
black,
going
you
for it.
blue now.
Exactly. Folks weren't going for it. Like, you know, the community wasn't, but that was the only way they survived.
Right.
So they didn't end up in that position that they, the position of the person that they
Right.
beat on.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
that could very easily
you-
have been them.
Right.
Right.
You gotta get in good with the white folk, and it's kind of the same thing today.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's good to see that, you know,
But
now.
at the same time, they probably look at us the same way.
I feel like that might be true for some, but not for all.
Not for all.
I can
right.
say that
not
for
for
some,
all,
for
but for
sure.
some, yeah.
But
You know what I'm
look-
saying? Because you see events like that. You see Breonna Taylor, you see George Floyd, you see Muhammad. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You see a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
like
I
that.
see that, but I'm bringing it back down to like our parents discipline us. Like if a white dude sees like in the store sees a black kid, a black parent beating on a black child, we're disciplining them. We're not hurting them. You know what I'm saying? And that goes to what I'm talking about. Like you know what I'm saying?
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I
I'm not
don't.
following.
I don't.
I'm not.
You started
I'm not
talking about
that-
discipline.
Yeah, I don't know where you like.
G,
I don't. You kind of lost me.
Jordan.
You lost me a
You
little.
just-
You said the mama.
Jordan,
No.
you started talking
When
about.
did one of y'all said something, bro, and I was going off of it.
I'm not gonna lie.
Nobody
I'm
started.
like,
Nobody started talking about
all right,
discipline
pause,
again,
bro.
bro.
What is-
No, chill.
We're doing good. You
Chill.
spotted
Chill.
it.
Listen,
I
listen,
can't
listen,
lie,
listen,
you
listen.
lost me a
All
What
right,
is
all
one
right.
thing the writer makes you curious about, and why? What I would say about that is, what he makes me curious about is just him wanting to quit or him wanting to give up when he first started, or when he was.
Why
midway
didn't he
through.
quit?
Yeah, like
I
why
was
didn't
mine
he?
too.
Because I mean, just you're a black man already. That's already a targeted.
Yeah.
They're already targeted just for your
Right.
color,
Right.
and then you're also gonna be being targeted for trying to take all the people out that they put in.
Mm-hmm.
Listen,
That was. Okay.
Oh, go ahead, my fault. You.
No, that was my same question, but then I was kind of able to shake back and answer it as to when you see how much he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it was still a burden, bro. You
Of
feel me?
course.
All
Like,
the
you
way
have,
on him.
like,
Death
because how
threats.
long did he have to live with his chief, bro? Was it like 3-4 months? Like
Yeah.
forever, bro? Living off nothing?
Having people quit on you.
You
leave
know
out
what I'm
on
saying?
walking
He
out,
was making what, a
yeah.
couple bucks an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And in the 50s and 60s, that was alright. But you
In
talking about the
80s,
80s?
you
State-
You still dirt
State
poor.
to state.
Yes, bro. Driving
Yeah,
state
facts.
to state, bro.
That is
You know what I'm
facts.
saying? Literally not even getting paid for real, because you just running errands for the folks that is getting
Exactly.
paid. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, yeah, that was real big too.
What about
Mine was for real. Like, I want to know, like, what just gave them idea to like represent people on death row. Like, I really, like, if I could, I would want to ask them that personally, cause like I wonder if like,
Yeah, why not just like
why not just regular, why death row though? Like, you feel me? Like,
I think he might have answered that in the book. He might not have, but I think
What is one thing?
I don't know for real. But nah, that was a good question though. That's definitely a good question.
One thing that the writer makes me curious about, it's not too much in the story, but it was two classmates and it was two perspectives, and I wonder like what point he was trying to get across when he was talking about it was Rashad and Quinn, and Rashad was African American and Quinn was the white dude, and I was like wondering what point he was trying to get across when he was like telling Quinn's part of the story. I didn't really understand what he was trying to get across.
Elaborate on that. What you mean? What did he tell?
All right, so
Opposed to what he should have told.
Rashad got beat, but Quinn saw the beating,
so he was the witness.
right? But he didn't say nothing. Like he didn't.
Oh.
He was trying to that's what I'm saying. Like in a white guy's perspective,
Yeah.
man, in a white guy's perspective, it's like he don't know what to do because his friend, Quinn's friends, was like the racist type. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he didn't really know what to do. So
Oh,
it's
so he's stuck between a rock and a hard
Yeah,
place. Okay.
I get it.
so.
Okay, so any other questions?
Was there anything else on there? Go to that list. Let me see.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so for us and Jordan, what is the time? What have we learned about the time period while we were reading? Names, people, laws, unusual situations or settings.
For y'all's book,
Ours book, that's like,
harsh.
I mean, it's kind of, well, I mean, we've already probably answered this before, but like,
Yeah.
you said what we've learned, like, well, one thing we definitely learned that's nothing new is that the police still do whatever they want.
Facts.
You know, that's one thing. Obviously, they do whatever they want.
We're gonna do whatever we want. And nobody's gonna stop us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let's see. Like a lot of back then, like a lot of stuff was like just shady for real. Cause like, and when I say that, like, whenever he tried to go back into the testimony of Myers for McMillan
Yeah.
for the retrial, you know, they don't even have it on record. They didn't even have the files on record. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy because they knew they was wrong, but they was trying to cover their own ass.
Yeah.
To, like, that's the crazy part. So that's what I mean. Like when I say it was like real, just shady.
No, real folks like, bro, it's, you know what I'm saying? When you got that type of systematic injustice, bro, it's like, folks will really do you dirt, and with no good reason.
Right.
You feel me? You
That's
talking about
true.
all the innocent people that he saved, like even during that time, and then you talking about up to now, like, folks really hate, like, bro, that's just a crazy concept to truly understand, bro, to this day. So you started off enslaving us, and now that we free,
We get successful.
and you still hate us.
That's what I'm saying.
You feel me? I've never really understood that entire concept of you hate me because I'm a different skin color.
It don't make no
You know,
sense.
like,
And we ain't never did nothing to them.
and folks will really like do dirt. You know what I'm saying? And that's expressed in both books. That white boy, regardless of his social standing,
No matter.
with the people he like, Now that's tough. That's a tough situation to be in.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
But you gotta know. Like,
You
that's
gotta
right.
do the right thing. You know what I'm saying?
You know right from right,
And that's-
wrong from
and
wrong.
Especially if that's your friend too.
And
You
that's
claiming
and
that's
that's
your
something
friend.
that's been taught from generation to generation.
Gosh.
Ignorance is blessed,
Mm,
and ignorance is only something that is taught.
Right.
Ignorance is not learned. You know what I'm saying? That's not
Exactly.
something you're born with. You feel me? That's taught. You know, the entire concept of racism is nothing but taught.
mm.
Nobody is born being racist. That goes for whites and blacks and any minorities alike. Any ethnicity. Your hate for any other people is nothing but taught.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Now it can occur over a lifetime like, okay, buddy killed my brother, now I hate you.
Right.
I don't hate you because you're black, I hate you because of what you
And then
did.
it just develops into.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now we beefing. Like take gangs for example.
Mm.
Cause there was a lot of gangs gangs now ain't even what gangs used to be back
at
then.
all. Nothing. at
Cause
all.
gangs beef, but they beefed for completely opposite
Yeah.
reasons as to why gangs beef now. You feel me?
Nice
Gangs
because
back
you-
then was really just cliques.
Mm-hmm.
It was just who I rolled with. It was my
Exactly.
neighborhood. It was the set that I rep. It was just the people who I know got behind me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Who
And
you
I got
raised
behind
with.
it. Right. It's the people I'm putting on for.
Mm.
Gangs now is nothing but strictly violence.
I
I'm popping
swear.
at you. I don't even know you. I don't know what you've
I
done.
know that.
but I
claim
know
this,
you're the ops.
You claim that.
And I'm just not cool
yeah,
with it. You feel me?
exactly.
But because of the history of violence and what they developed into over the years, systematic, it's almost like systematic racism against yourself. It's
Mhm.
black on black violence. You know what I'm
Alright,
saying?
no, and that's
that
the biggest
applies,
problem.
Right, that applies to whites, that applies to blacks. There are I personally I have folks in my family who are dummy racist. Like I'm serious. Like my Uncle Clyde hates white folk with a burning passion in his heart. I'm so serious. He does. He like, bro. I mean, he ain't gonna go out there and put no hands on none of them.
Mhm.
But bro, he like gets uncomfortable being around them. But he lived in Alabama too, so he experienced
Yeah.
some trauma along with it. But like hard no on any white folk. Hard. He don't like being around my pops.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? So he in the family, but he don't. Bro, he shy away. He's dummy cool with me, and even with me, it's still kind of shady because I got that in me. I'm so
Yeah.
serious, bro. But that's the, bro. And he old. He about 70, cause he's the oldest of my grandfather's siblings. But like, bro, seriously, and that's real, and that's kind of what my uncle, well, that's not my grandpa Oliver. I don't know my great grandpa's name on Papa's side. I forgot his name, Donovan or something. Bro, he was raised like that, cause his grandmama was a slave.
Mhm.
And she taught pure hate.
That's how it was.
Pure hate.
That's all
So
that
she's my
was.
great grandmother. Her husband got slaughtered, trampled by horses intentionally. Great. Is it great or great? Something like that. Either 3 or 4. Bro, and Papa will talk about it now because I was his great grandmother and she was still alive when he was a kid, bro. Taught nothing but pure hate for white folk. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you see that on both sides.
When you say taught pure hate, are you talking about like explain that? Like
Raised as you see
They's
him.
the enemy. They's the enemy.
Goes the other way.
Straight like that.
No, bro, simple. I'm
It's just-
dead serious. Like, bro,
It's some
It's
people,
like that.
some white folk raised like that too.
you
They-
see,
they
you talking
taught
about
that.
people, and then you got ignorant black folk who like, just for example, like last week I seen this guy on TikTok with this Confederate flag, this black guy.
Yeah.
Oh, some. So he was country, being
Yeah.
probably living by South Carolina.
Right.
If I had to guess, I think that's where he lived. You know, some. This is my heritage.
No, it's
Gee.
not.
What?
That's real ignorance right there.
I mean,
That's honestly
straight,
real.
like, bro, straight
Whoever
ignorance.
your parents is need to be slapped
You
for that.
don't understand. You don't understand what that
Nothing.
stands for. You don't understand the history behind what that was. The entire Confederacy motto. What did they fight
stood
for?
for slavery.
They fought.
And
They
you
went
were-
to
And
war
listen,
for slavery.
that's what I don't get about it.
You know what I'm saying?
They don't look. They look at you like you was a clown, bro. They not looking at
Exactly.
you like, yeah, you're one of us. They're looking at you like
you're a
That's
goofball.
what I'm saying.
You're
are
a
the
goofball.
clown, bro.
You're a goofball, and now they're trying to use you as an alias to other black
Exactly.
people. Oh, look at this guy.
Exactly. He
You know what
knows
I'm
what he's
saying?
talking about. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
And that's
bro.
and that's it goes
And
on.
some people
It goes
for
on.
real
You
go
apply
along
that
with
to
it.
many other things. That's when you got like, bro, it's crazy. I mean, folks use that against Trump.
Yeah.
Folks use that in Trump's election. You feel me? Oh, this black guy stands with us. Why shouldn't you?
Nah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, hey, don't get me wrong. Benefit-wise, poor black folk love Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah, I'm already knowing that, dude.
Poor black folk love Donald
Speaking
Trump.
on the racism topic, how do you think like I know you said like teaching hate and stuff. How do you think like it can stop or slow down or not be as bad?
Can't. I'm not
It-
gonna
I'm not
lie.
gonna say it can't. I'm not gonna say that.
Well,
Listen,
I'm
listen.
not going to say it can't, but it's going to take time
It is
of
basic.
growth as a generation and
Listen,
as, like,
but
from
listen,
generation to generation as a
It
society.
is dang near inevitable to stop racism.
Not for
Because
real.
no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna get every racist in this world.
They're not.
Then all they're gonna do is pass it to their kids, and they're gonna pass it to their
That's what I'm
kids.
saying.
And
That's
keep
where it
going, bro.
starts. We gotta teach people not to pass it to their kids.
It's not even like
It
that. So
starts
like
in
that's
education.
so that's the thing that you can't really do.
You can't
that's
force
not
nobody
that's
not-
not
you
you know
can't
what I'm
force nobody how
saying.
to
And that's
raise
not
their
something you
kid.
can't control. Along with the fact that you can also not stop what people are going to experience in their life.
Okay, well,
You
look,
feel me?
like I was saying, back to the little whooping thing. You know how you teach your kids not to do bad, not to gang bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta teach them that. We have to discipline them that.
I can't
And we
teach
gotta-
the 300 million kids in America.
That's true.
I don't know if it's the
You
president, but we gotta teach what so-called racists. I'm not gonna say white folks, but the racists
Gee.
not to do that.
So
But
it's
then-
like
but,
this.
But then you can't do that because that's their freedom of speech, bro. You can't do. That's what I'm
There's
saying.
that, but
It
it's
don't-
it's
bro.
like
But if you put this, what I'm saying, the only way I can see possible where you would even limit the racism in this country would be put restrictions on the First Amendment. But if you try to do that, all
that's
hell
violating.
will
That's,
break
that's
loose.
violating people's rights
That's
in
what I'm
general.
saying.
You know what I'm saying? So
All
that
hell
not
will
only
break
hinders
loose,
them,
bro.
that hinders you.
Right.
So like you can't do that and it
Exactly.
only apply to racists.
That's what I'm saying.
You feel me? It's
All
like
hell would just break loose.
you know. So I know you know that saying. You know, you can take a sheep to water, but you can't force them to drink.
Yeah.
It's the same concept of racism. I can preach and teach
Don't do
and,
it.
and all day, and if they don't retain any information, if they don't learn, if they don't decide to buy into what I'm saying, it's all for what? Nothing.
Everything literally going
It's-
in through
it's
one ear out the other.
Straight out the other. Because they having a care in the world and they will
Exactly.
refuse to believe that they are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You can't prove it.
And you
in
can't.
any other way.
And to an extent, you
Right.
can't.
Can't.
You can't.
There's no
There's-
way.
It's
And
not.
at
It's
all.
not something
Yeah.
like racism is not something
That
that.
you can really prove.
I mean,
'Cause
okay,
any-
you got hard evidence as to this black guy was killed.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you got plenty of people. This white guy was killed because they do.
They could- they
I
could-
know
the
plenty of black
prejudice-
folk that done shot white folk. You
It's
know what I
not
mean?
even just black and white. It's Mexicans.
That is
It's
true.
Muslims. All
There's
that.
black folk that beef with Mexicans.
Yeah.
There's white folk that beef with Mexicans.
It's all over. Bro,
You know what I
it's
mean?
in
Like, bro,
every race.
it's yes.
It's every
And
race.
like, just that whole integration theory. I mean, it's done nothing. It's improved since the '80s.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it has.
Definitely.
Like exponentially improved. But it's still, I mean, it's still drop off. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
still mad lackluster in a lot of different areas. You know, it can still always room for improvement. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't want to say accept it because you should never accept something
Oh,
as
no.
that.
Right.
But what can you do?
Exactly.
That's going to truly be effective. That can cause change.
I think the biggest thing is just to be educated for real.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest part about everything. You be educated, you
Facts.
can't really go wrong. Cause like if you know,
But
Yeah.
they're educated in two different ways in school, and then by their parents or grandparents that tell them, oh, this is
That's
wrong. This is
that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. That's the other thing you can't control. Like
It's starting the
There's
school
so-
system first.
there's so
Yeah.
many variables that you can't control with people about how they might become racist, might not like this race or whatever. But
Aside from this, the project, there's a speaker I want y'all to listen to, Louis Farrakhan.
I heard of him.
He's a Muslim preacher. He worked with Malcolm X back in the day, but his whole philosophical way of thinking is insane. Did y'all watch that video I posted on my story the other day? On my Instagram story. When he was speaking at this
I didn't
all-white
see-
conference.
I didn't see.
I'm gonna show y'all in a minute. But bro, like